What is up, team? Welcome back to the Huddle, the number one podcast in flooring. We're here every week to help you guys gain forward progress in your career. Simply put, we're here to help you win. For all the new viewers, welcome to the team. Quick mention of today's sponsors, NAFCT and Divergent Adhesives. If you got an adhesive or a project that needs a demanding adhesive, make sure to check out Divergent. And of course, every week nearly we talk about training and being properly prepared for your project. That's where NAFCT comes in and all their great trainings over there. I know, Andy, you could attest to that. My boy Jose, and Daniel, our trainer, is off today. So Andy got the pleasure of stepping in. Thank you, buddy.
That's right. No problem.
Love you. Thanks for joining us today. Andy's been on here several times and sometimes, fills in as a guest of the moment. I'm not sure if that's the case here, if he just happens to be here. And either way, he's a wealth of knowledge, and we're really happy that he's here. So today's topic, real quick, is being the bottleneck. I mean, it's a lot more than that. It's always on the job, kind of the let's see, what is the always on the job time, burnout, and being the bottleneck. So bottom line here is I got a lot to say about being the bottleneck for a company. Typically, or specifically when you're starting off. So anyway, thanks everybody for joining us today. Mr. Jose, how's the weather up in Grand Rapids treating you? You got your Top Gun glasses on, ready to roll.
Yeah. It's my gamer glasses because I'm looking at a screen a lot.
That's what I should.
My eyes are getting burnt out, right, from the screen. But the weather's nice, man. Probably mid 80s again today. Humidity's kind of going away a little bit. Got rid of all that smoke from Canada. Kind of blew over, like engulfed our state. So air quality's a little bit better than it has been. Can't complain, but I'm in here wearing the sweater because Daniel's got the air conditioner set to North Pole while he's gone. Like he left and then put it on North Pole. So it's a little freezing.
Well, Andy, tell us for those in the audience and who will be watching this podcast later, tell us a little bit about yourself and your role over there.
Yeah, so installer, been an installer my entire life, and I switched over to the technical side back in 2019, and I've been working for Novalis ever since. So my role at Novalis is at this point senior technical manager. I handle incoming claims, oversee the claims department along with product development, tons of different technical aspects. There's a lot to name, to be honest with you. ASTM testing is one of the biggest things that we do, on top of trade shows, trainings, installer trainings. We try to, all of our distributors have installers that come in and we'll go train them. So there's a lot to it. Fun stuff.
Yeah,
though.
for sure. So today's topic being really pointed at the burnout and the being the bottleneck, and a lot of installers can probably find this very relative to their life. Like you're the guy that gets the call for the job, you're also the guy that's got to figure out how to get the job done, and then you're the guy that gets called to finish the job, and opportunities sometimes overlap other opportunities, and you find yourself sometimes drowned in opportunities. Well, don't feel pregnant, because that happens even at the dealer, commercial dealers, retailers. Everybody has that kind of problem. The key is hiring good people, right? Having good people manage their roles and responsibilities. But trust me, we're going through it right now at my company. We have a gentleman that's out of the office for an elongated period of time that was unexpected, and all of a sudden you're jumping right back into, trying to just keep your nose. I won't even say the head. I think I might have a straw to keep myself breathing oxygen at the moment. So I know all about this burnout and how things can affect your psyche and your performance and your mind. I thought that'd be a good place to start. Is like, how do you handle that workload, Andy, when you just got through saying, we do installer trainings, we do trade shows, we do this and that and the other. So that has to be stressful and hard to keep up with. How do you handle all that?
Management, I think, is the biggest thing, and having not being afraid to say no. And this just goes back to even when I was running my installation company. I got to the point to where everything looked so enticing to me. There's a 1,700 square foot job here, 2,000 here, 4,000. Yes, we can do that. Yes, we can do that. And all of a sudden, like you say, we're just barely, able to finish one job because, we're spread so thin. So I think learning to say, no, I can't do it now. Can you wait? Can we,
That's
here's my
huge.
next available date. Right. I think for me, that was the biggest thing to do is being able to manage that, and manage that expectation with my clients. Right. They understood that they couldn't just call me and get me whenever they wanted. They knew that when they called, I was going to give them a date range because I was so busy. There was no way for me to get to it immediately. But at first, believe me, and I have to give big ups to Brian Wilkinson because he told me, he's the one that told me that. He was like, hey, you got to learn how to say no every once in a while.
Well, and specifically at the installer, role in this whole industry, like if you are in high demand, you should probably let your customers know that.
Right.
It kind of opens up the price book a little bit. You don't look, it's a scarce asset to be a really good installer. So charge for it first off, and make sure that you're covering. If you can't do it, I mean, I have to negotiate with our subs all the time on timing. Like if I have a particular guy I want on a particular job, we got to negotiate all the time on timing because the really high quality guys, the experts, the masters, those guys, they are busy. You're not just going to have them start a job tomorrow. Now, sometimes I can negotiate with them to pay them a little extra to jump over and do a one day or something, but starting a job or something is, you just have to know. And obviously, just like you said, getting your clients kind of, I forget the word you used, but used to the fact that you're busy and they're going to call you and you're going to give them a date range. We have those guys that we know we can't just call them and they're going to be on the job tomorrow.
Right.
That's why we hire in-house guys, because we can move them around where we need and when we need. But our subs, they're busy. They're the good ones are going to always have work going on. You might get them for a day if you have treated them right over the years. They want to help you out, but it's going to be a help out. It's not like a standard operating procedure.
Sure.
Yeah, 100%. And I
And
think
go ahead.
I was good. I think part of that too is like you said, the calendar and being open and honest, right? But doing your best to look ahead with the team, whether you're subcontractor or you have employees, is being able to look ahead and try to game plan. And that's very important, and it all goes back to the communication thing, right? Like the back and forth. We got to talk to the crews, got to maintain open communication and understand where we're at on projects, and understand when specific projects are heavy on the body physically and heavy on the brain mentally, right? Like finding that balance to create that open communication, knowing that we have a little bit of a fluctuation in the calendar, like a fluff day or two, um, on larger projects, so that we can fit in 1 day projects for other people. I'll be honest, those 1 day projects, those 2 day projects are the ones that usually are because you're maintaining a relationship and you're trying to fit it in. And it is hard to say no, but it's how flexible are they? Do they need it done by this date? Because I can make it work. You want it on Monday, Tuesday, but man, it's Friday morning. I cannot adjust my schedule that quick. Can we make it work on next week, Thursday, Friday? Communication, and sometimes it's no, sometimes it's yes, and I guess depending on what it is and if they're willing to wait or they have that flexibility as far as the end user, that makes it a lot easier too.
Yeah.
Well, talk about the part that we talked about calendar, like the technical or practical side of it, but what does this do to your work, to your mental? Like right now, I could tell you I'm probably at an 8 of 10 on stress. Like
Yeah,
it's we we are so busy and losing a guy unforeseen, non-planned kind of thing, for an unknown length of time can, put a mental load on you.
Mhm.
You guys, when you get a customer that calls and asks you for something, and you're like, particularly, you already have a contract, you're scheduled to do the job in my case, and you got to pick up the pieces as someone's not there. You don't want to displease people, but at the same time, the way that I've dealt with it is just it's still like I can't do everything right now. You know what I'm saying? So even if it's a something I'm supposed to be on top of, I might still tell the client like I can't get back with you today. I'll get back with you. Let's do it in the morning. And I that and finding a way to disconnect after work, like truly not deal with this stuff when you get off are the two things that I try to do to keep my brain from exploding.
yeah.
Yeah.
Please elaborate. Teach me how to do that,
Well, I'll
man.
tell you what not to do, and this is just my opinion, but don't turn to substances to
Right.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
maintain yourself. I know a lot of great installers that destroy their lives by turning to substances to do that disconnect. Look, a lot of times the growth comes through this hardship and through the pain. Like I'm going to learn at the backside of this, and I'm going to put in some systems and maybe change a process here or there, or make sure that the coordinators are more involved with the jobs. They can handle a little more, or there's going to be some change around here because of it. That's positive change. Doesn't mean heads are going to roll. We're just going to make some process changes so that not everybody has to be stressed out when something like this happens.
Exactly.
It's a very specific thing, but whether it's my specific thing or your specific thing that you're thinking of as you watch this, understanding that a lot of times it's growth and processes and change that comes out of these hardships. I mean, you don't build a muscle by not making it hurt, right? That muscle has to
yeah,
hurt to grow. It ain't much different than your brain or your than your muscles. Like sometimes you're going to go through the hard thing and you're going to learn some lessons if you keep an open mind to it. That's what I try to tell myself is like, okay, what am I going to learn from this so this doesn't have to happen again.
again, right. Yeah, that is one of the hardest things, and you're right about turning to substance abuse as an outlet to deal with it. It really doesn't look. It really doesn't do anything for you, right? Like I
No.
know that I quit drinking like cold turkey years ago, and now I can have a drink or two. Um, I babysit the drinks. I get made fun of all the time because one drink will last me 6 hours. right?
I
Right,
can attest to that. I've seen
right,
him
but
get some fruity drink, and it sits there and gets
yeah,
watered down by the time
foo-foo drinks.
dinner's
That's what
over.
everybody tells me by foo-foo drinks. But then like also like I used to smoke cigarettes. I used to smoke pot back in the day, right? Like these are all things that I quit cold turkey. And I know that a lot of people don't do that. And to say that I tried to do that, it didn't happen. But I leaned on some of that after work, right? To relieve pressure, to relieve stress. And to say I didn't lean on that, I'd be lying to you because otherwise then it was my hobby.
Well, I
You know,
think
that was
it's
just
a pretty common thing, right? Particularly alcohol. Not that I'm saying that having a drink is a bad thing, but if you're using it to disconnect and just go numb, are you guys getting any feedback?
I'm getting a little bit, yes.
Hmm. Well, my could be on me, or it could be Andy. It went away when Andy muted. Uh, the if you're on a phone, Andy, sometimes if you have that phone sitting down, your speaker will bounce up and cause a little feedback. So
Yeah, no, that's weird.
but anyway, that it's kind of a common thing that happens. And sorry, you're gonna have to deal with the feedback because I'm gonna just go ahead and keep talking. But what I'm getting at is it is very socially acceptable to have a drink, and that's fine. I'm not putting, bad mouthing. I'm saying don't use it as a tool to disconnect from your stress.
Right. And this is gonna sound like really weird. I replace all of that with my quiet time when I'm alone and there's no other distractions. I do kind of either make a mental list or a written list to organize my thoughts and my moves for the next day or for the next week. And then I break that down too, right? Like it doesn't always happen in the order that I want it to happen, but that is that's what I do after work. That's part of my decompression, so to speak, from the work overload. It's doing my part to it helps me sleep better at night, right? Because now I can actually relieve some of that pressure because I'm taking a breath. All right, that's kind of organized. I know my next steps. I feel better about tomorrow.
Yeah,
Um,
I can't. I'll second Andy's, calendar and your to-do list. I mean, having both of those kind of, in order, and they're going to get out of order, jump them back into order, do your very best. But, a guy told me a long time ago, like, when I get super stressed, he's like, dude, you're not curing cancer. Okay. You're not on the brink of a breakthrough of cancer. Although it can feel like that type of pressure, we got to put things in perspective. There's a lot of times in my life when I was super stressed out, I couldn't even tell you why I was today. Like
um,
looking back at skills, I can remember I was, but why? Like this too shall pass.
Yeah.
yeah, dude, Tom Hanks, this too shall pass, brother. You know what? I tell my son that all the time, dude. We don't use the word I can't, and this too shall pass. And so it always everybody's issues, whether it's work, personal, right? And it always seems like the hugest thing in your life at the moment because it is the block, right? It is what is hindering progress in one way, shape, or form. And this too shall pass, right? And what did I say? Compartmentalize. You compartmentalize. You consolidate, and then you put an order of importance, right, to get through the clearing. And that is part of the calendar. That is part of the notes. That is part of updating all of that so it makes sense. And since I'm a very visual person, it's got to make sense visually because I cannot keep in order the thought process and the next step because as soon as another problem arises, right, it throws a wrench into the pattern that I was trying to create. And I think that's everybody, right? That's not just me. That's just me thinking out loud and going over my thought process because that's life. And I wrote some notes and you got to find out where the issue is and try to find the solution and work backwards.
Yeah.
Um,
Also, a nice tool for people. I tell my managers this when they get super, overburdened or like overwhelmed is you can only do what you can do and just put one foot in front of the other. I know that sounds really elementary, but I find solace in the fact that like I'm on this podcast. It's not like I don't have 15 other things right now waiting for me, begging for my attention. But I'll tell you, this was my next step. And I just take the next step and the next step and just put one foot in front of the other, do your very best, and let the chips lay where they are. Sometimes you're not good enough. That is the fact. I know in today's society they want you to believe you're the greatest of all time. You can do whatever you. Well, some days in some circumstances you're just not good enough, and that's okay. It's just that one day. Put one foot in front of the other. Do your very best. If your very best is not enough for that scenario, for that circumstance, take solace in the fact that you did your very best. I get more stressed when I know I didn't do my very best or I avoided
yeah,
it or I find
yeah, dude.
myself like trying to distract myself and watch. Oh, I need to go learn about this new AI thing. Yeah. Yeah. Right now, you see, so
I feel that
it's
in my
an
soul right
escape.
now, brother. I'm just letting you know. I feel that right now. Like there's you're getting pulled every which way, and you have to, you definitely have to prioritize and pick out that thing that's most important at the moment. Because in 2 weeks, when the other things that aren't that important is just that order of operations, I guess. I don't really know where I'm going with that, but every item has a deadline, right? Every item has the level of
Well, they're all
importance, and it's going to
perceived
fluctuate.
deadlines. They're
Yeah,
all
yeah.
perceived deadlines. That's what I'm getting at. Is it like
Mhm.
usually you can recover from these types
You
of
sound way
things.
better, Andy. By the way.
Oh,
Yeah,
thanks. Do I look any better?
you
No,
do. I don't know what you did, what
no, I
filter that
know.
is, man, but I need
Listen,
it.
uh,
But yeah, I think that juggling all these uh, things that we juggle as leaders in our respective companies and in industry. On top of that, a lot of times you don't prioritize right. I mean, let's just be honest. It's hard to figure out what's the most important thing when you got four clients. None of them do you want them. You don't want any of them to feel like they're less important than the other. And you're going to make a choice. And if you got four clients, three of them are going to think you're wrong, and the one that you chose can think you're right. Right? I mean, it's just do your thing, man. Just keep doing your
Right.
thing, because tomorrow will come and it won't be as bad.
yeah, and what so like recently I spent a week out in Milwaukee for baseball. Um, and I know what comes with trying to take time away from work, from the office. I know what comes. I know that I still have to look at things every single day, right? And and uh, the parents who work for someone, they're like, "Dude, you're still working. Why are you working? Why do you got to go work?" And it's like, do you guys understand? Like, I don't have somebody else doing that for me. Like, this is the role that I chose. This is what I do to make a living. This is part of my responsibility, and I've accepted it. If you guys want to go off and do what you got to do it. But I have to maintain, right? Even if I'm not there, I have to maintain. I still had guys working on my projects while I was gone. Still got to check in, make sure everything's good. I'm not definitely not trying to micromanage. I'm just trying to make sure that I'm up to speed in case I get a phone call or an email that I need to address with a client. And that's all it was.
Well, that daily
Or
check in can be
Yeah,
invaluable sometimes when you're gone. Just hey, how's things going? I'd rather know things are going okay or make a preemptive call than get a call, you know, mid swing at a baseball tournament that all hell's breaking loose.
right. And they that old thing where no news is good news. Nah, no, no, no.
Lies.
I don't know about that anymore. Right? Like the
I
older I
don't
get,
believe that one
yeah,
bit.
no news is
It could be good news, but it could
yeah,
also just be uh, a tsunami building.
right. So yeah, no, a constant influx of news or updates is always great to have, and it does relieve the stress levels when you are away from your desk, working away from the office, and you know you have multiple things going on. And I know you can appreciate that a lot more than I can because you've been practicing it longer. But it's one of those things where the communication and that open line of communication really helps maintain stress levels or mitigate high stress levels. Right? It's like that's going good. That person's taking care of it. The crew leader's taking care of it. Daniel's taking care of it. Like I'm good. I'm in the clear at least for today. Tomorrow I'll check in and make sure that everything's still good, and we'll go from there.
Well, and frankly, sometimes you are like the end of the title is being the bottleneck. Sometimes you are the bottleneck, even if you've built. I'm the bottleneck in multiple situations right
Hmm.
now, but you don't want to be the bottleneck for your entire workflow. So,
No, that's
getting some help. I know some installers that do this fantastically well, and they've got help. They've got somebody to help keep their schedule up to date. They got somebody that helps keep things moving for them, and they can focus on installation. What I know a crew that it was his wife, and now it's an employee. Um, Installers sometimes think the only employees they should have is other installers or help. But if you get that one person that can do your billings and talk, kind of order material stuff for you, you need a couple trials, you need some glue, you need some stuff, they can, a quick phone call and they get it taken care of for you. They can check on if you have a few crews, they can help with crew management. Um, like you do reach some point where you need to hire somebody you can trust to take some load off. And, that never goes away. I mean, I'm in the situation right now. I've got to hire a few people. We're in the hiring mode regardless. And on top of that, what I discussed early on in this podcast is happening. So you don't really grow out of it because unless you stop and you decide this is all the larger I want to be, um, and that's that. And that's fine too. I know some guys that they run the business out of their house and they've got a little shed out in the back or a metal building and they do what they can do and no more. They say
that
no
was
a lot.
that was us. That was us for a while. We didn't say no a lot, but that was still us for a long time.
Sometimes I
Um,
miss those days, to be honest with you. Sometimes those are some of the days that like it was just me and a crew and a few guys and you know, you start thinking like, yeah, that there was some merit to that. Well, there's
right.
merit to each step, and you just have to decide where you want to go and practice good management of your time. But those are techniques. At the end of the day, I don't care how good your techniques are, you're going to end up in a spot where you have a heightened stress level. And my encouragement is handle it the best that you can, treat people around you well as best as you can, and realize that this day is just another day. You'll get a new chance at it tomorrow. And
Yep.
typically these types of problems don't last a long time, Leslie says we all know fight or flight when it comes to stress, but your body mind isn't meant to be in continuous fight or flight mode. It isn't healthy. And we all have to find ways out of that survival mode mentality where everything is DEFCON 1. Don't let other people's stress dictate your stress. It's easy, but it's critical. It isn't easy, but it's critical. And I read that right away because it is one of the truest, that's a great statement. At the end of the
Hmm.
day, a lot of our stress comes from other people projecting their stress onto us.
Yes.
And then you
That's
feel it and you're like, oh, I got to jump through rings of fire and this fight or flight thing, you never get away from that. That's your amygdala. You know, I mean, that's your monkey brain trying to keep you safe. And
Yeah, one hundred
if you're a
percent.
fight person, you attack it dead on. And I have people here at my office, and I can tell you who's the fight or flight type people. And I'm not saying one's right or one's wrong, but I run to the fire. I run towards it, and I always have. There's people
And
that retreat, and sometimes they handle it better. I'm not saying that one's right or wrong, as I just stated. I'm just saying, and I think Leslie's point here is it's your cortisol levels are not meant to be in that heightened state for long periods. Talk to
and that's what
people.
causes the stress levels, right? And that's where when everything does start bottlenecking, right? It doesn't, because you're right. It doesn't matter what level of any career or anything you have, the stress levels are real, and everything does bottleneck. And it's one of those things where they're going to stay heightened until you figure out a way to find a solution, or like you said, right, run straight into the storm, or take a step back or run away from it until you figure it out. And sometimes, there's a balance that everybody does. Sometimes you do got to step back before you just dive right in. Like, okay, hold on, how am I going to approach this? And then you go, off of
Sometimes you just
experiences.
disconnect for a few minutes. Don't try to
That's
figure
it.
it out. Just say, I'm
Whoa.
letting go. I don't care for the moment, for this 10 minutes or 20 minutes. I just don't care. That doesn't mean I don't care for long term, or I'm not going to take care of the problem in another hour. But right now, for 10 or 15 minutes, I don't care. And
Yep.
just walk away.
And I'll give an example as an installer. When we used to work, doing some intricate cuts on something, and we just couldn't get it right, and this tight cut, and and I would tell, like, stop. You're getting mad. You're not gonna take your time. You're not gonna rush it through, or you're not gonna take your time. You're gonna rush through it. Stop. Walk away for a few minutes and come back. That piece will still be there in 5 minutes after you think about it. Right.
Hmm.
That piece will still be there in 10 minutes after you think about it.
And that applies to
Um,
us, right? I mean,
yeah.
outside of a deadline on a bid, most of the things aren't going to, like, give it a few minutes, walk away, relax, don't think about it. And that's the hardest thing to do, is to not think about the problem that's causing you that. But a lot of there's ways you can do this. There's breathing techniques, there's stuff like that.
And
Letting go for
sometimes,
just a few minutes can be a lifesaver, for your brain.
the only solution is taking off your tape measure and chucking it across the room and saying, "Take that."
Well,
Don't do that. Don't do that
I
on
really
an occupied
appreciate
project, guys.
Leslie's
Yeah.
comment on that, and it is a fight or flight mode. And when you get a chance to stand back and really reevaluate, the other thing I would say is, like, from a lower energy level, so to speak, a lower height, a lower stress level, think about what can be done different. Don't try to fix the things in the moment. A lot of times that's where we compound our problem. Step back, take a breath, get through the day, get through this situation. Again, this too shall pass, I promise. And
Hmm.
come come with a creative mindset. You can't have creative mindset and a fight or flight, you know, being a fight at the same time. So you got to get out of this to get into that and think about how you can solve that problem.
And I will add, to the whole topic too, and sometimes the whole bottleneck effect and the burnout is caused by, you being excited and ready to run and jump into something that you're not prepared for, right? And it starts causing damage that, you didn't foresee the damages, because you just seen what you wanted for the outcome, and it's all very promising. And I'm gonna go back to this past week, where my son's been wanting a new desk for his bedroom, right? But he wanted a power desk and this and that. And we got a few new tabletops. Daniel gave him a tabletop. We found the base on Facebook Marketplace. I went and bought him a base for it. On the way home, I said, "Look, dude, it's getting late. It's 7 o'clock at night. I know you're going to want to go home and put this whole thing together, right? But we have to make sure we have all the right things. You got to clean your bedroom, right? There's some things that have to happen before this can take place, or before this should take place. Yep, Dad, I got it. I understand. Right? He got home. I went back to work, came home a little bit later on in the evening. Guess what? The desk was all put together. Room was not clean. The motor was broken because he did something he wasn't supposed to do, or so he thought it was broken. It wasn't operating the right way. He didn't take the time to find the right screws, popped through the tabletop, messed up the whole, like all right. And instead of being all upset, right? Because I was upset that he did it, I waited till the next day and we talked about it. And I said, "Did you take the time to find the right screws?" Nope. What happened? I broke the tabletop. All right. Did you take the time to make sure everything was clean in your room? Nope. Then what happened? I messed up the table because I tried to set it down on something. I didn't have enough room and it went down and messed up the motor. Like, all right. So, and I went and fixed everything the next day. And then we talked through it the whole time. And I said, this is why it's important to sometimes
Mhm.
understand when you have to put your hands up and take a step back and say, let me organize my thoughts and prioritize these steps. Um, he had to live it. He had to live it himself, right? It's just something simple like that, but he had to live it.
Yeah.
Um, and he's only 13 years old, so it's a good lesson, right? Small lesson, inexpensive lesson
Well,
for
if
what
you've
it's
ever
worth.
put together a piece of IKEA furniture, sometime or one of those pieces, that stuff can get frustrating. Sometimes you do just got to walk away, think about it, and the solution comes to you. One of the best pieces of advice I've gotten is like walk away and detach from the outcome for a moment. Just detach
Mhm.
from the outcome for a moment. If you are a God fearing person, give it a prayer, detach from the outcome. If you just that it doesn't matter, but just constantly trying to solve the problem in this heightened emotion
Yeah.
that can be damaging. I want to tell Roland, glad your wife is okay, sir. I'm very
Oh,
glad to hear that.
I see no comments
And
today, guys, so I'm sorry
uh,
I'm not interacting with that.
you're the fire run to the fire type of person as well, you said, and I can tell you that that can be one of the more stressful people. You got to get you want to figure it out right then. And
Yeah.
there is still a time where I have to walk away and
Hmm.
just think about other things for a moment. So,
I will say that I don't always make the right decisions when because I am the run into the fire type of person, and I don't always make the right decisions. But I have noticed over the years that when somebody else that I know is running straight into the fire and they give me a call, I'm able to calm them down and help with a solution, right? No matter if it's, something with their house or personal. It's like, hey, dude, all right, hey, you're excited right now? Let's give me a little more details. Let's try to figure this out. Let's see what's going on, right? And then I don't know anything, but I'm able to calm them down, and then they start dissecting everything, and then they go, I think, okay, you're right. You know what? I missed this, or they missed this, and I got to make a phone call real quick. I'll call you right back.
I
And
can't tell
then
you how many times I've gotten a solution when I'm just driving or just not at work about a work thing, and it just kind of comes to you. That's what happens when you kind of step back and you don't engage all the way with the problem for a few minutes. And that's all. Again, these are there's technical, like have a calendar, your to-dos, be responsible, communicate. Those are technical practices or um, practical steps you can take. But managing your mind is the hardest thing. It's the hardest thing for me. And
yeah,
sometimes I want to choke people out, and sometimes I want to, like, you know give up. Sometimes I don't want to do it anymore. Uh, but at the end of the day, you it all kind of gets reset when you just kind of stand back and think about something else for a few minutes. Think about something you enjoy. Just take a little bit of time away from. the problem of being the bottleneck. And who knows? I may walk out of this podcast with some new things taken care of myself, because it gave me a chance to just disconnect from my day,
Yeah.
and jump on here with you guys, talk about this kind of stuff. It's something we all face every single day, and I hope that through some of these um, practical techniques, as well as mental techniques, that you might find a little bit of help, and you know get through the day, as they
You,
say, and
you
then
know,
attack it
um,
again tomorrow.
I did see like through like some social media channels and all that, like advertising small little electronic devices now that help you focus, and they give you X amount of time, right? Like you could use it like a calendar where you have, 2 hours to focus on this subject, and you put a timer on, and that's what you should be focusing on. So I think that there are things out there to make it easier if focus is the issue, and I can use that sometimes, I'll be honest. But like on my phone, I do have Apple Music or YouTube Music, and I do have a couple channels that are dedicated to just helping me disconnect. And I typically, when I want to really disconnect, I put these headphones on and not these earbuds, and this helps block everything out. And I play that, you know white noise or static in the background, and then I just focus in on what I'm supposed to be doing. That's one way that helps me. I'd like to hear other ways that help everybody
Well, that's
else
called
to get.
time blocking, and if you're good at time blocking, there's a lot of people, I mean, that
I'm
build
not.
good things, big things, and they do it because they're able to, like, just block out the time to do the thing. They're the type that can accept they're not going to finish everything in that time frame, but time blocking is another technique out there. Rollins says, I make no fast judgment. I look over all the options. He says, ask my wife. I don't let things stress me out. I believe the Lord's in control. Believing in a higher power, I firmly submit to. And we're not a religious podcast, but I often say I believe in Christ, and the ability of understanding that Lord is in control. And just take some time. It's not again, stepping back is one of the keys to this, no matter what. So all
So that
right.
it
Well, we are getting to the end of the podcast here,
Yeah, you
and
were here for the whole time. Thank you, brother.
yeah, no problem. We had a little bit of technical difficulty. I thank Andy for joining us for a brief, little bit of time. We had some sound issues. I have some sound issues on my side, so we'll fix that for the next podcast. I want to thank everybody for joining us. Again, mention our sponsors, NASCT and Divergent. You know, the best thing you can do for us is support our sponsors. And so signing up to a course, buying Divergent adhesives, trust me, you're not going to be, let down by that. Sonny knows what he's doing. And, the chemistry behind that, there's been a lot of thought and a lot of effort put in that. So support our sponsors. That's the best thing you can do for us. Give us a like and subscribe on any of our social channels. Let us know what we can talk about, what experts we can bring on. It's been a while since we've had a expert kind of driven topic, and so we
Yeah,
are getting to new topics for this next 6 months, and so you'll see some new flavors coming out. So
and if and if
thank
and if you're an
everybody for
expert,
joining us.
and if you're an expert and you want to join and you have a topic that you think is important and you want to share it, by all means, please reach out.
Yeah,
Um,
for sure.
100%. We're open to a conversation. Let's get the ball rolling, and we appreciate the help if you're willing to do so.
Yes, yes, and yes. So thank you guys. I want
Thank you,
to
everyone.
let everybody know how much we appreciate you joining us, watching our podcast, and supporting us in this journey. Been doing this for a lot of episodes. I've almost lost track in the number. It's in the 200 or 300 range at the moment, I think. So 211, I just was told. So 211 episodes
Wow.
since 2022 we've been here. So thank you guys for joining us. pass the word around. Another great thing is share the show, get the word out to more installers, more stores, more retailers, more dealers that join us. The more power that we can have in bringing on good experts that they want to be heard when they're on a podcast. Let's let them know they're heard. So thank you, everybody, and we'll catch you guys next week.